What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Merricks Garage. If this is your first time to my channel, I want to say thank you for coming and checking out my little corner of the internet. My channel is dedicated to the fun and rebuild of my K30 Blazer, my LS swapped 4-linked 1-ton axled K5 Blazer that I affectionately call my K30 Blazer. I've been building it for several years. It's taken me and my family to adventures all over the US. I've wheeled it, I've rolled it, I've broke it, I've fixed it. All with my friends and family in tow. And I try and bring a video to you guys weekly detailing what I'm up to and passing on some of the knowledge that I pick up from other people, other friends, and other mechanics with far greater skills than mine. If that sounds like something you're into, click that subscribe button and let's go get it. Merricks Garage. Today we're going to be doing some troubleshooting of my buddy Clay's CJ8 with an LS, an LQ4 under the hood. It hasn't been running right, stumbling, fumbling, not really able to get out of its own way. And we get to the bottom of it today. I use a variety of tools from OBD scanners to port readers. We replace some parts that are faulty and we ultimately get it back up and working. But I break down the processes, how I approach troubleshooting an engine, steps I take, and how I ultimately got this guy fixed and back up four-wheeling in Clay's front yard. So if you have ever wondered about how to get into just mechanical troubleshooting, if you are overwhelmed by the thought of diving into a motor that isn't working, you're not alone. This was a major hurdle for me. It's one thing to put a motor in a truck. It's another thing to be able to diagnose what is wrong with it when it is not working. Learning how to diagnose from the symptoms that are present is an acquired skill that does take some time and practice. I am very, very early in my knowledge curve of this, but I've had some recent success and I thought I'd pass it on to you guys.
Thanks for coming over to play trucks today.
Dude, I love playing trucks. So today, we're working on my buddy's Jeep. That CJ8 that we're selling has been running a little rough. So we are going to go through some troubleshooting steps today to basically take it out of what I think is limited power mode. So the LS motors don't necessarily have a limp mode like some OBD2 computers, cars do, but they do have what's called a reduced power mode, which we are most definitely experiencing with the Jeep. The idle is off, the throttle response is terrible, it's running super rich, it has no power, it can't get out of its own way, and it sounds terrible. But apart from that, it's running awesome. There's a couple things to consider. Because it's a computer-controlled engine, as long as it's turning over, I'm pretty confident that there's nothing mechanically wrong. I don't think that there's a fouled plug. I don't think that there's a leaking head gasket or anything like that. I think we're dealing with a purely electronic problem where either a throttle position sensor has gone bad, the mass airflow has gone bad, the O2 sensors have gone bad, the spark plugs have gone bad. Something along those lines has developed that's leading to the symptoms we're seeing. We've ordered up new plugs, new wires, new O2 sensors, and we're going to swap those in today. But I also want to take a look at the throttle position sensor. The throttle position sensor, or TPS, is a sensor that communicates with the computer to let it know how open the butterfly on the throttle body is. If they're not talking to each other properly, then we're going to have big problems. I'm thinking it might be the throttle position sensor. So here's the heap and his Jeep. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
It's clever. That's why my subscribers like me, because I'm so funny. Funny looking. Oh, this is Clay's toolbox right here. This is his hammer. This is his screwdriver.
These are my pliers.
There are tons of options out there for OBD scanners. You can pick up an OBD wireless Bluetooth or Wi-Fi port scanner for just like $5 or $6.
My experience with those is they're going to be very, very generic. Each specific manufacturer is going to have its own set of codes, and you usually need to have a special code reader to get into those. The exceptions have been this OBD LINKMX and this port scanner that I received from a company on Amazon. I have stuck with these two because they give me the most detailed information without killing me with a bunch of unnecessary noise. Now, these are two very different systems. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, this is hardwired into the port. This is more of a professional grade model that gives me deep dive into a ton of different parameters, way more than I know how to use, because honestly, I'm generally just using this to check things like voltage and O2 sensors and clear codes and things like that. The interface that you get with one of these guys is also going to be crucial. You can go online and buy one of the cheapies, but then you're going to have to integrate it with one of the online available like Torque Master or Dash Command or one of those guys. And getting the app and the appliance to speak nicely and to give you usable information, sometimes more trouble than it's worth. Now, if you are looking to just clear a code, those are fantastic. They're very good at clearing codes, but really giving you any detailed information as to what is going on in the first place, they're a little bit thin on that. My go-to is going to be the OBD Link. This is their Bluetooth version. I had their Wi-Fi version for a while, and it was just problematic in connecting. I keep this in my BMW just in a pinch if I need to clear something. I can struggle through the 10 times it takes to connect to get this thing to work. But this guy, their Wi-Fi version, has given me 0 issues. What I like about the OBD Link, their app is fantastic. It has tons of customizable features. The user interface is really nice, clearly laid out, and easy to read. It does have deep dive ability, so if you do need to drill down, you're going to be able to do that with this guy. This is the big daddy. This is the guy that it's not going to give me the cool gauges while I'm driving so I can check my instant mile per gallon, but what it is going to give me is a ton more detail. It can do all of the codes, it can do all of the parameters. It's programmed for Nissan, it's programmed for GM, it's programmed for everybody with no additional cost to have to buy different modules. So this has become the tool when I really want to get into the electronics and figure out, like, are my O2 sensors reading correctly? Is the differential between them high enough? Is my battery putting out enough amperage, voltage? That sort of thing. The interface isn't quite as nice, but the ability to really drill down is really cool. This guy goes in my bag as a trail tool, whereas this guy goes in my car while I'm driving so I can monitor all types of cool stuff with it. But let's talk about practical application in the real world.
Okay, so let's give you guys the lay of the land here. Throttle body sensor, mass airflow, coil packs, fuel rail, vacuum advance. Actually, that's the recirculation. Down here, you've got your fluid, your temp sensor. I already tried unplugging that one. Sometimes if your coolant sensor is off, it can force the engine to become more rich. But I'm almost positive it's going to be this TPS. Let's take a look and see. So this being a drive-by cable instead of a drive-by wire, we're going to have this idle control motor sensor, and then underneath is the TPS. I'm beginning to think most definitely that is the problem. It was stuck when I removed it. We can go pick one up if we need to, but I'm hoping we can salvage this one. But codes are coming up clear. But the voltage, when I ran the voltage on here, it was pretty flat. Let's see what happens with the sensor cleaned. Well, it's definitely idling better. All we did, I cleaned what's it called? The top sensor. took the bottom sensor out, it looked to be a little wonky, which was kind of weird. I'm gonna see if I can get in there and measure the voltage coming off the sensor and truly determine if it's bad or not. But here's what I am able to do. So I have chosen to, I'm gonna check absolute throttle position, compare that to the engine RPM, and then I can also read my O2 sensor bank 1 and bank 2. So let's run those. Okay, the O2 sensors are reading well. So let's combine them all. And there we can see, yeah, we've got activity. And hey, Clay, can you blip the throttle on the throttle body?
Disconnect it?
No, just move that, just like. That's good. I think we need a new sensor. I don't think it's bad, but I definitely think something's wrong with it. But running a whole lot better already. Troubleshooting an engine was a very daunting task to me. For a long time, I was intimidated by how they worked. I thought I was going to screw stuff up, and I thought I was going to make things worse. And honestly, I probably did in many situations. But through a substantial trial and error, I now have a decent understanding of, you know, I've developed my own approach on how to troubleshoot this stuff. And this applies to engines as a whole, not just the LS, not just a small block, not just a V8. Basic principles of combustion engines. They're going to need spark to ignite the fuel, to drive the pistons, which turn the crank, and power it goes into the transmission. So if one of those things isn't working, I can usually look at the upstream source. In the case of a car not starting, for example, do I have enough voltage or enough amperage coming out of the battery? Do I have a dead battery? Do I have a connection to the starter that isn't good? Is the starter grounded properly? Those are some of the first things I will check when looking at a starting issue. If it's starting and just not able to catch, it's just turning over, do I have a fueling issue? Am I getting fuel to my carburetor? Am I getting fuel pressure to my rail? If I'm not getting that, then obviously I start looking at the fueling system. The bigger problems become when something's running, it's just not quite running right. And it can usually present in a couple of different ways, which can make it seem kind of daunting. That is where the OBD readers really come in helpful, because they can give you an idea of where to focus your attention. We are back from the parts store. Picked up some electrical parts cleaner, some mass airflow cleaner, some anti-seize, some Torx heads. We're building a garage toolbox for Clay here. But most importantly, we picked up a new TPS, throttle position sensor, that we're gonna throw in, and hopefully this will result in a smooth idle and no more stalling. I'm optimistic. Okay, new plugs and wires on this side, and one of the wires was definitely not performing. So maybe it was running on 7 cylinders. Unlikely, but yeah, this was not connected. Purring again. It looks like it was a combination of some bad boots, bad plugs, and a bad sensor. We haven't done the O2 sensors. We swapped out the TPS, cleaned the mass airflow, threw new plugs and wires in. What else did I do? Cleaned out the air filter. I mean, just you know, the basics. And it's purring, no codes. O2 sensors are reading good again. I mean, night and day. You happy?
Yeah, this is way better. We're gonna take it in the front yard now.
What are we gonna do in the front yard?
Rock crawl.
Oh man, I love it. I love that my friends with their expensive houses still get to rock crawl in their front yard. Very similar to the other OBD link connector I have, this one just has a little bit nicer of an interface. You've obviously got your settings tab. I'm not going to get into that, but that's where you set up all the parameters you want to use. Diagnostics is obviously going to be trouble code. So if I had a trouble code, it would show up here. I can check freeze frame data that will just take a snapshot of what is happening when I hit that freeze frame and report back to me a bunch of values. I can assign different values that I want to monitor under the PID values, and if I am driving, I can do a report and get an overall health of things. I also use this dashboard. The dashboard is something that you can set up yourself. You can change how you want these displays to be shown, how you want them to look, all that kind of thing. So I have a couple screens set up. This will generally be running on a road trip, so I can compare it to my analog gauges and make sure that there's no lurking problem. Being able to see my instant and my total fuel economy is really cool. The other ones I use a lot are knock counter. If I am having some issues, I generally like to see if I'm getting any knocking. That can give me an indication that I might have a fueling issue or something like that. And then oil pressure, trans slip speed, oil temperature. What else do I have in here? Voltage, engine temp, just different graphical displays as to data that I want to be able to access quickly. Fully customizable, very, very cool. Monitors, this is where I can go in and I can take a look at all my stuff. Obviously I don't have any sensors hooked up for the refrigerant, but O2 sensors, I can see if they're working or not. The EGR isn't available right now because we're not turned on. O2 sensors aren't going to work because we're not turned on, but I could go in and I could read the O2 sensors. So this is a great app. I'm really being a big fan of the OBD LINKMX. It's made a lot of troubleshooting reports for me that have helped me figure out problems that I might have. I've never had any connection issues with this one, but I have had a dead iPad, which has kind of made this whole project obsolete. The other OBD reader that I have that is corded is really nice for that reason. I never need to worry about the battery being dead. And I can drill down a little bit deeper. But if you're just looking to get something to throw into your truck, I recommend the OBD Link. It just works. It's the best one I've tried so far. So that's how this guy works. Let's go back over to Clay's truck and see what progress we've made.
How you like this front yard action?
Dude, you've got a trail in your front yard.
Come up and over that rock. Nice. Oh, beautiful. We'll try that stuff out. Easy peasy. I mean, those are big boulders. This thing's just eating them alive. Coming down on a big one. Might want to back. You're gonna hit your diff. Back up.
Where it's gonna hit the pumpkin?
Yeah, you're gonna just knock a huge. Look at. You'll see this later on the video. Back up.
Oh, that was gonna be fun. rolling the tire, the wheel, the rock. There we go. Go around the trampoline.
Sounds like your black box came out. Sounds like the black, there you go, now you're engaged.
Let's see if that underbody protection works.
It's not even gonna touch it. That's a huge boulder. Hey, water line?
Yeah, what's that?
That's a water line too. Try not to run that over. Crank it, driver's side. It keeps popping on the black box. That black box keeps popping out.
What did I just hit?
You didn't hit anything, it's the gearing. See that?
Where's that water?
If you crank it hard your side, you'll be fine. You're good.
I'm gonna move the trampoline.
That's okay. Bring it back a little bit more and then crank it hard passenger. Bring it back a little bit more on top of that boulder, James. Oh, nice. You're over. You're over. You're over.
Okay, your turn.
Look at those digs.
Nothing better than crawling in your own front yard. Slow. Keep going.
See some nice articulation in there.
Slow. Nope. You want to go passenger. Slowly. Hey, thank you guys for spending some time with me today on this episode of Merricks Garage. I am constantly preaching self-reliance. I feel that a self-reliant attitude is a huge advantage in life in general. Being able to fix your own stuff, being able to take care of you and yours is a critical aspect of just living an adventure-filled life, in my opinion. Knowing how to fix what you've built obviously helps when you get out on the trail and stuff breaks down, as it inevitably will. Don't worry if you are not a master mechanic the first time you try. It takes practice. I am still learning a ton. But each time I take on one of these projects, try and troubleshoot something, I learn something. It goes into the memory bank. Next time I face that problem, I've already got it solved. I have a ton more videos out there. There's a bunch of stuff that I think you would like. Go ahead and check this video out right there. It is of some awesome stuff I did with my buddies. I think you guys will dig it. We'll talk soon.